Welcome to Kapeleris Ultimate Talk TV. Be inspired, informed, and elevate your mind one step at a time. Talking about life, real estate, business, and beyond. Your host, author, speaker, real estate broker, Carmela Zita Kapeleris.
Welcome back. Our next guest is Toronto real estate lawyer, author, speaker. He's practiced law for over 32 years. He's written columns for the Toronto Star, been on Global TV, Canada AM, and CBC Radio. Here is celebrity lawyer Mark Weisleder.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Carmela, thank you.
Well, tell us the reasons that you think that the 2015 market will remain strong and possibly going into 2016.
Just watch television. You know, I turn on the television and it's like, if you asked anybody in the world today, where would you like to live? How many of you think would pick the GTA in their top 3? I'll bet you everybody, no matter what country, would want to live right here. We have more cultures, more languages, more communities than anywhere in the world. And everybody wants to come here.
Yes.
You know, and interest rates are at historic lows still. And that's why, although they've been saying the market's going to crash for so many years, it's not going to go crash. It's going to keep going up. I've been saying that for years. And I'm one of the only ones that's been proven right. So if you're on the fence, buy.
Buy. So 215 good, 216 good.
Here, yes.
For sure, for sure. The market is really red hot right now, and there's a lot of people making offers, and they're making in bidding wars, and they're making them without conditions. How can people still do that and keep safe and out of trouble?
Yeah, you've got to be very careful, because when you, in my experience, when you buy without a home inspection condition, you're going to be very disappointed after closing the first time it rains. In my opinion, you've got to make a deal with a home inspector right away. Take the home inspector with you to the house before you make a bid. Mm-hmm. And do the home inspection so you can make a bid without conditions. Now, you may lose a couple times. So you're saying, oh, I threw out money on a home inspection and I lost. It doesn't matter. Even if you lose 3 times, 4 times, if you spend $2,000 on home inspections, when you think about it, for $1 million house and have peace of mind, that is a good answer. So to me, that's one of the ways to protect yourself in this current environment.
Bring a home inspector with you. Do a pre-home inspection.
That's right.
Okay, okay. You've written a lot of articles and you've done a lot of videos. I see them all. Which one is your favorite, or which one do you feel is the most popular?
Well, people always, I think, enjoy the top mistakes buyers make when they buy houses. So it's like the top mistakes buyers make. How do you avoid the tenant from hell? You know, people always ask me, you know, the tenant, you know, he promised he wouldn't bring a dog in, and he brings a dog in. He wrecked my house. How do I find out if the tenant has a dog? Just go on Facebook. If he's got a dog, there'll be a picture of a dog on Facebook. You know, there are ways that you can check things out.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Tell us about real estate deposits. When do they have to be paid, and can a buyer refuse to pay the deposit and get out of the deal?
Well, depending on the offer, most offers say that the deposit is payable 24 hours after the deal is accepted. But in a bidding war environment, you're pressured to bring in a bank draft or a certified check with the offer to show you're serious. So it depends on the situation. If you sign an offer and it's accepted by the seller, and then you all of a sudden have a change of heart and you say, you know what, I'm not going to pay that deposit in 24 hours. I'm getting out of the deal. Unfortunately, you're still in trouble, because even though you've just signed for 24 hours, let's say you agreed to pay $500, you walk away and the seller resells for $480, you can be sued for $20,000, just like that. So you know, you don't sign unless you're serious and you understand your obligations.
You sign on the binded line, and that's it. Deposit or no deposit,
you're stuck.
You're stuck.
You know that,
you're stuck, and you can't get out of the deal.
Yeah, unfortunately you can't. Now, if the deal is conditional, well then, you know, if you find something wrong, you can cancel the deal.
Yes.
But if it's not, in today's environment, you're stuck.
Right, right. You're a real estate lawyer. You do a lot of closing. Take us through the process of closing day and how people can prepare so that nothing goes wrong.
So I get calls, right away, people calling, when do I get my money? Sellers calling,
Yeah,
buyers
that's
saying,
right.
when can I pick up my keys? And I'm like, it's 9:15 in the morning. Have a little bit of patience. But typically what's happening is we have already signed up the clients a few days before closing. The money is coming in the morning. So the banks are sending in the money in the morning.
Yes.
We are getting the money over to the seller lawyer. And then once they've got the money in their account, everybody gets on the computer. So the seller lawyer starts pressing a few buttons on the computer. Buyer lawyer starts pressing a few buttons on the computer. And once everything's done, deal closes. Then we call the clients to come and pick up the keys. And theoretically, that's how it works, nice and smooth.
Yeah.
The problem is when you're doing 30 closings in one day, you can imagine. It's a little bit hectic.
Imagine. My goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. So on another note, tell me what happens when you fall in love, buy a house, break up, and then your partner doesn't want to sell the house. What can you do from a legal standpoint?
Oh my, well, a couple of lessons there. First of all, if you're not married and you're buying a house together, get your name on title. Okay, that's lesson number one.
Yes.
There are no rights in Ontario to common law spouses who are not on
Did you
title.
hear
So
that?
if you are going out, you're moving in together, everything's nice,
Yes.
you're not married, make sure
Get
your name
your
is
name
on
on
title.
there.
I don't care what, don't listen to anything, well, your credit, get your name on title. That's number one. You must have your name on title.
Yes.
And then, what we try to suggest if you are, let's say, investors, partners, we like
Right.
to say have a partnership agreement. Because the partnership agreement will say what happens if you're not getting along. So
Yes.
if the two of you are not getting along, one doesn't want to sell, there could be an agreement that says, okay, you don't want to sell, buy me out. So we call in a Grade Remax agent, we call in an appraiser, we say, tell us what the house is worth, you want to buy me out, pay me half.
Right.
Right? But if without an agreement, you have to go to court. When you go to court, who wins? Who's
The
lawyers.
lawyer.
That's it. Lawyers win always. So
lawyer.
you see, unfortunate when you and couples who are in love and they get together, they
Yeah.
don't want to sign contracts.
Yes.
That's the problem. And when they don't get along and they're fighting, and you got to call the lawyers, it's a shame. It's a shame when that happens.
Yeah, in that particular instance, can one spouse or one partner list it with one agent and one spouse list it with another agent? Can you have two listings? And are they both?
So the question, can you have two listings? The
Yeah.
real question is, are both of them going to agree to sell? You see,
Yes, it's not about the listing, it's about the offer.
It's almost, you see, an agent really can't sell without having the agreement of both
Yes.
parties. You can't really put it on MLS unless you have both parties, unless you want to sell 50% of a house. I mean, who's going to buy 50% of a house and then move in with this other person? So that's not going to happen. So
Yes.
really, that's something they really have to
They
work out.
have
They
to agree. They have to
Yeah.
agree.
Unfortunately.
Okay, well, real estate people say that buying a house is all about location, location, location. But for real estate people themselves, it's about disclosure, isn't it? How important is disclosure in this business?
Well, the law is sort of moving forward. It's evolving, okay? If you're a seller and you know that you have a foundation problem with the house, okay? You know you have a foundation, you have a major leak, you have to tell the buyer. If you don't tell the buyer and they
Yeah.
find out after closing, they can sue you. So you see, that's not a good plan. But then what happens if a murder happened in the house?
Or suicide.
Okay, let's say there's a pedophile who lives across the street. You have to tell the buyer. These are difficult
Yes, you do.
questions. They're difficult questions. And in Canada, we don't have a lot of legal precedents. There was a case in British Columbia where buyers bought a house and they asked the sellers, it was on a beach, they said, we want to buy the lot next door. Who owns it? They said, well, the city owns it and they're not going to sell. So the buyer said, well, what is it? They said, it's a public beach. They weren't happy, but they bought the house. They found out 2 weeks later, it is a public beach, a public nude beach.
Oh.
So I know what you're thinking. Wouldn't that add value to the property? Well, the buyers didn't think so. They sued. And this went
Yeah.
up to the Court of Appeal in British Columbia. Now, Carmela, what do you think? Do you think that the sellers should have told the buyers they had a nude beach next door.
Of course.
Well, the Court of Appeal in British Columbia said they did not have to disclose that. And so this is why many lawyers say that, well, if there's a pedophile, if there's a halfway house down the street, this does not have to be disclosed. But I'll bet you most of us would say this should be disclosed.
Yes.
As far as murders or suicides, we don't have a case yet. And so while a real estate agent would have to disclose that, a seller might not have to. And this is why the law is evolving right now in that area. But if something is wrong physically with the house, you have to disclose.
Grow houses. What about grow houses? Same
grow
thing.
Grow houses is, again, it could be a material defect because depending on how serious it is, you can't get insurance. If it was a grow house, that would have to be disclosed.
Yes, that's right. You wrote an article last year on Toronto land transfer tax, and you said in that article that you felt it should be an election issue. Do you still feel that way about land transfer tax, and how can we ease the burden for Toronto buyers? Because it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's one of the reasons why the market is so strong. People are not selling because they don't want to pay the double tax to move. And so this is why the inventory is low, because the inventory is low, the prices are high as well. Unfortunately, even though the mayor, I think, would like to see it end, it makes too much money for the city.
Yes.
It brings in, almost $400 million for the city of Toronto. Where are they going to get that money? So while it would be nice to say, sure, it would be great to take it away,
yes,
I think we have to face reality, and it wasn't that important to the public. I think the public doesn't care. I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. One of the candidates wanted to increase the land transfer tax for properties over $2 million. So you know what? It's tough, but I think we're going to have to live with it.
We're going to have to live with it for a while, till the next election.
At the earliest.
Okay. Well, you said you sent me an article about how people can avoid buying the wrong house, because sometimes people do that because of 5 reasons. What are those 5 reasons, really fast, before we wrap it up?
Okay. 1, I talked about the home inspection.
Yes.
Number 2, check the neighborhood. Okay. Your seller will not tell you if there's a neighbor from hell next door.
Right. So check it out yourself.
And so you got to walk around the neighborhood and talk to people. And if you're interested in a house, ask the neighbors, were there any repair trucks at that house during the year? Because you'll find out a lot from the neighbors. So number 1, check the neighbors. When you're doing that, check your finances.
Yes, go to a bank.
Just because you get pre-approved doesn't mean you're going to get the money. Because you see, if you get in a bidding war and you got approved, but then the bank thinks you paid too much in the bidding war, they're not going to give you enough money.
Right,
That's
it has
a big
to
mistake
appraise.
people make. Another one, not using the right agent. Thinking you could do it yourself. Running to the listing agent. Oh, I'm going to get a better deal. I'm going to go to the listing agent.
Oh,
the
that's
listing
a good
agent
one, Mark.
is just there to get the most money from the seller. You're going to tip your hand. You're going to ruin your negotiating position. That's why you need somebody experienced, independent, who can guide you through the process. So, having the wrong agent,
Perfect.
Big mistake. And with bidding wars as well. You gotta be careful with bidding wars. As I said, do the inspection earlier. I believe in bidding later in the day. Don't give the seller too much time to bring in other offers, and make a very short irrevocable, 3 hours, so that you put the pressure on the seller as opposed to the buyer.
Perfect. Thank you so much. What a wealth of information. Mark, where can people reach you? Can you tell people
Well, thank you.
how to get a hold of you?
So by email, it's mark@realestatelawyers.ca. And I have a phone number, 416-702-2499. You get me personally.
Thank you.
Very welcome.